Welcome to this episode of the Thriving Church Podcast, where we talk about how your church can be stronger, healthier, reach people, and build spiritual champions who live out God's kingdom across New Mexico and around the world. We're glad you're here. I'm Kevin Parker.
And I'm Rick Brittain.
And we'll be your hosts for this conversation.
We hope everyone listening has heard every episode, but if you haven't or if you're new, we've got you covered. Every episode is available on our podcast site, thrivingchurchpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Right now, we're here and you're here, so let's dive in.
We got two guys via Zoom, Rick.
We have.
I'm really excited. And we've got somebody here in the studio again.
That's right.
Blessed again.
Every time Matt Thackerson appears on the podcast, our numbers go up.
It does.
So
this is going to be a record-breaking podcast.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs a Matt. Everybody needs a clown in their life. That's for sure.
We got two other people who are going to bring our numbers up too.
We're excited to have two guys representing our focus areas for One Day Mission Trip 2026. So from the East Mountain Estancia Valley area, we've got Jonathan Richard, pastor of First Baptist Church Estancia. And from Roswell, we've got Chris Lethgo, pastor of First Baptist Church Roswell.
Jonathan, Chris, welcome.
Hey, guys. Thanks for letting us be on the podcast.
Good to be here.
It's great to have you. Great to have you with us. So what are we going to talk about today, Rick?
Well, we're going to talk about the two communities that New Mexico Baptists are looking to impact in September. And we've got kind of a homeboy from each one of those. So what I'd like to do first is just hear a little bit of background and maybe why this matters to these two guys. We'll start with Jonathan. Jonathan, I think you told me you moved to the Edgewood from Albuquerque when you were 11 years old. And would you just kind of lay out your journey in your part of the world out there since then?
Like you said, Rick, I grew up in Edgewood, mostly. Moved there when I was 11. Grew up at First Baptist Church, Moriarty, and spent my mid-school and high school years in the Moriarty School District. And so very familiar with the East Mountains and Estancia Valley. Went away for a little while and then came back to First Baptist Church Estancia, where I've been senior pastor here for 18 years. And so very well acclimated to the area, and it's home. It's a good place to be.
All right. And so you got married, you've got a beautiful wife, and you've had two children, two boys that I love, raising them in that same part of the world. So like you said, it's home. And then I'm going to go ahead and introduce Chris as well. Chris, I know you've had some travels and stuff too, but tell us about your life and journey with Roswell and coming and going and all that good stuff.
I was born and raised in Roswell, New Mexico. My wife is from here. We were band nerds together, met in high school, went to college, went to Wayland Baptist for 4 years, and moved back to Roswell. And our first time in serving a church was right here in town. Served about 10 years in Albuquerque at Sageburst Church as a worship pastor. And then we moved back right about the time our kids were starting to get into high school.
All right.
That's really been a great thing. All my parents, Christina's parents are from Roswell. Just a lot of family connections and friends from over the years. And 3 years ago, we got connected with First Baptist Church. And it's just been great.
All right. So are you a coyote or a rocket?
Yeah, Roswell Coyotes.
All right. He's a yote. So we've got a pinto and a yote. We ought to be able to handle anything that comes up. So, Chris, we'll just stay with you for a minute. If you don't mind, just share with the folks all over the state why Roswell's such a big deal to you and what your view, your vibe, your feel about your town and why you went back there and just that part of your story, if you don't mind.
Well, when you're growing up somewhere, you don't always see the big picture. I grew up pretty sheltered. I mean, I was a church kid. My whole view on the world and life was this town is religious and church going, and you grow up and you see beyond the church and you see out in the community and you kind of wisen up. Roswell struggles. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of brokenness in this city. And the older I got, the more I saw other families our age around out in the community, you could see, honestly, just how sin had affected so many people. Over the last 3 days, we've had 3 separate homicides in town. So there's crime, there's drug issues, there's a lot of troubled families and people here, and we know that the only answer is Jesus. And so in my heart of hearts, the reason that I serve the Lord, the reason that I feel called to minister here is just to raise up and build people up so that we can be a light in a dark place. And I know our city isn't any different than other cities around the state, but I definitely feel called to this one. And so this is why we're so excited to be partnering with others from around the state to bring the gospel to Roswell, New Mexico, because we need it.
So in the process now, we've been working on this for 8 months or so. Has your view of one day coming to Roswell changed, grown, altered? I mean, where are you with it now compared to where you were at the beginning?
Well, it kind of starts in that dream phase. We kind of have a vision for it. It's exciting. It is still very exciting. There's just a lot more details. There's a lot more things that we've been able to pinpoint. Okay, here's what's actually going to happen. So I think when it's in this big kind of dream phase, you don't really know what that's going to look like. And more importantly, you don't know how it's going to affect the city, affect the people, engage the church. Now that we've put some actual, writing to the pages and we have a plan, I'm more excited than ever to just see how this will make kingdom connections to every neighborhood, every street, every person here in town. So I'm more excited than ever.
Cool. I like it. So Jonathan, being a longtime guy there in the East Mountains and the Estancia Valley, and again, kind of like Chris, you left and you came back. If you would, kind of along the same line, your story personally with that part of New Mexico and what you see and what drives you out there in ministry.
So this area is really very unchurched, except for a large Catholic community. And so it's in the East Mountain areas, there's still a lot of mysticism and that sort of New Age philosophy that kind of trickles down into the Estancia Valley a little bit. And it has a little bit more over the past several years. Just like Chris, we have very high amount of drug use going on, especially in the Estancia Valley. There's a lot of drug use. And so there's just that kind of decimates a community. There's that. And then, of course, the East Mountains, like I said, there's a lot of New Age philosophy and everything, just kind of a hands-off approach to churches and a fear of Christianity as a whole. And so we're really energized and excited about one day.
I'm curious for both of you guys. Both of you have the story of you left and then came back. There are so many stories in New Mexico about guys leaving, just not coming back. But both of you have come back to the town where you grew up. Touch on a little bit about that. What we want for people with one day is to be drawn to the communities where you are. Something about it drew you back in ministry and made you come and plant yourself back into the community to spiritually care for people. What is that? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, we joke about it here in Roswell, that you're not going to ever get away, or you always come back. I don't think it's a joke. I think that because Roswell's interesting, it's a medium-sized city. About 50,000 people in the city, maybe 65 in the county, but it operates like a small town. You know everyone, and because of that, there's just very strong ties to family. I think ultimately that's what drew us back, was the relationships that we'd established over the years, the people we knew, just seeing a way that we could be an asset to our city.
So people come and something actually starts getting going, an awakening starts or a movement starts there in Roswell because of the relationships. There's the high probability that it's going to keep going and it's going to move on deeper into the community. So there's a chance here to really start something.
We've seen it happen in our church on a small scale, when our teenagers get fired up and share the gospel, we see their friends, we see their parents. I mean, it's like just spreads like wildfire. And we're talking churches here and there around the city. I can't imagine what that dynamic is going to look like when we go to every door and
great.
let everyone know.
Super.
Cool.
Well, Jonathan, Chris gave you a moment to process that question. And so what about you? You came back.
You know, in all honesty, it wasn't really my intention to come back. I think that's probably how everybody feels about their hometown or home area. And then it wasn't really my intention necessarily to stay long term. The thing that drew me is probably the same thing that has kept me, and that's the people. Just like Chris said, you know, people know each other. There's a relational value to our lives. And I definitely see that in the Estancia Valley and the East Mountains as a whole. Of course, our parents are only 30 minutes away, and my wife's parents are 30 minutes away. And so that's nice to have that close connection there as well. But the people here are just hardworking, good people. They love Torrance County. They love their community. They love each other by and large. And so it's a hard place to even want to get away from, to be honest with you. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. It's widely unknown because there's just not a lot of industry here. And so it's a quiet place to live by and large. And so it's a good place to raise a family. It's a good place to live. And I'll tell you, one of the things that has been a real blessing in my life, a huge blessing, is First Baptist Church Estancia. It's been one of the greatest blessings that God has ever given to me in my life. They've been so good to us. I believe that it has been a great relationship that we've had with them over the years. We've seen this church just absolutely explode, not numerically, but just in their relationship and their walk with Jesus. We've seen this church just really become a very, very healthy church, and a large part of it is our community, our involvement with our community. Our community seemingly loves us, and we love our community, and we are really, really, like I said, excited and energized to be able to be in our community and to show not just the town of Estancia, but the entire region that we love our community and we're serious about serving them. And so I'll echo what Chris said about we're really excited to see what will happen when we prayer walk every single street in Estancia on September 26th, when we engage in conversations on a regular basis, and when we serve our community in a way that really costs them nothing, but allows us to serve them in actuality.
I got a couple of questions for you. I'll start with this one. We're asking your sister churches to send laborers into the harvest. And we're beginning by, taking Jesus's one prayer request from Matthew chapter 9 and just begging the Lord of the harvest to send laborers into the harvest. When Matthew records that, he records first that Jesus saw the crowds as helpless and harassed or distressed, however you want to translate those Greek words. And he saw the need for a shepherd. They were sheep without a shepherd. So maybe if you don't mind, maybe quickly, as you're thinking about your areas, and you've talked about brokenness, you've talked about sin, you've talked about crime and homicide and all these things. But do you have a story of either First Baptist Roswell or First Baptist Estancia, people within your church or yourself, looking at the crowds around you and seeing them as helpless and harassed, and seeing the Good Shepherd actually meeting those needs, maybe to gain some excitement of Christ at work in your community and laborers joining in that work? I see you both kind of nodding your head. So who's got a story?
When I first moved back from Albuquerque, I was reestablishing some of those connections, those relationships. Funniest thing happened when I walked into Roswell High to register my son. That first week we had moved back, I looked around in the gymnasium for orientation, and I saw all these old people with their kids, and I thought, man, parents are getting older these days. And then I started recognizing them from graduating high school with them, and I thought, oh man, we're the old people. But I'm reconnecting with all these old people. I'm also seeing that in the last 10 years that I've been away, marriages have fallen apart, families have broken up and encountered all kinds of trauma and just bad stuff. And my heart broke for those people, and I saw them as sheep without a shepherd. And that's been a huge goal of mine coming into First Baptist, to reconcile those relationships that maybe they once had with Jesus and can have again. And I see a lot of that example all across the city. Thankfully, in just 3 years, I've seen a lot of those things restored.
Amen.
I've seen marriages come together. I've seen kids that were pretty troubled and in bad places. I've seen them find hope in Jesus. I think that that's absolutely available for every single person and every single family in Roswell.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah, we've seen very similar things as well. One of the really sad trends seems to be going on right now in our community and beyond, actually, is we've seen some people who are, walking with the Lord or seemingly walking with the Lord, and then just all of a sudden their marriage is falling apart. It's really troubling. And so we've begun actively praying about this for the marriages, and not just in our church, but in our community, and the families in our church and in our community. We've also been engaging our community during this year, actually, we've been using a different evangelism technique where we pass out business cards that have a QR code on it, and the QR code leads them to an invitation video from me to our church, but not just that, but then an opportunity to type in any kind of question they would like to have answered regarding following Christ, regarding the church, regarding Christianity, regarding other religions that pose as Christianity. And it's AI powered, and it gives them an opportunity to hear a gospel-centered message from somebody who was a former Mormon or a former Jehovah's Witness or a former Muslim. And so I've been going into the area, the businesses around, not just around our town, but around our entire county. And I've seen these cards in almost every business. So I know that people in our church are engaging people, handing them a card and saying, hey, please check this out. Please scan this QR code. Here's an invitation to our church. Here's some answers to life's hard questions. And so we've seen our church really get engaged with that this year in preparation for One Day. And we weren't doing it just to prepare for One Day. We were doing it before we even knew One Day was coming to our area. We were prepping to do this. And so this is really going to be an exciting tool that we're going to get to use on a much larger scale with One Day. And so we're excited about using that and unveiling that as well.
Yeah, praise God for that. Praise God for both of you. And I hope that those listening and those thinking about going to the One Day mission trip in September can be encouraged that there are pastors ready to receive new believers, ready to make disciples. There are churches already actively at work in the harvest already, and we're just joining in on God's work right now. My next question has to do with cooperation. So we're asking sister churches to cooperate with you. I think about Psalm 133, how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity, which is kind of, for me as a redneck, it's like good and pleasant. It's like chips are good, but chips and queso is so much better. So how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity. And so we're asking sister churches to come and partner with the churches in your areas. So maybe talk just a little bit about how you've been encouraged to see in the planning process, see your sister churches in your areas, pastors working together. Just talk about the encouragement of that, of dwelling in unity with a main goal of, proclamation of the gospel. Talk about that, how encouraging it is in the planning process, and then just your encouragement or your vision towards 325 churches, hopefully, partnering together with a kingdom mindset of proclaiming the name of Jesus.
So it's always good when I get together with my brothers, right? I mean, we always enjoy each other's company, and pastors, by and large, are not in competition with one another. We're just partners in the gospel, and so I know our church prays for another pastor and another church every week. I know many churches in our area do the same because we are in partnership with one another, and so I've really thoroughly enjoyed working with my brothers, my fellow pastors in the area, discussing ideas, using each other's ideas, and building on what we're planning on doing at our specific site based on what's working for them and what they're trying to do, so that we're not getting all up in each other's business and doing that, but we're doing what needs to get done. And so there's just the thought of partnering with New Mexico Baptist as a whole is going to be extremely helpful, because you're bringing different ideas, but you're also bringing the ability to work and see that these communities hear the gospel and then engage each other with that and challenge each other. And then also knowing that my fellow pastors are excited to receive new believers, excited to make new disciples, excited to see people come into their church that normally wouldn't darken the door of a church. I mean, all of us as brethren, at least in the East Mountains and the Estancia Valley, we are excited to see people that have never walked through the doorway of a church. We are excited at the prospect of those people walking in the church first time and seeing our people who've been so energized for evangelism and discipleship, see them, welcome them with open arms, and see the life transformation that we are expecting and we are trusting God for to take place in not just one life, but many lives around our area.
Amen.
Man, I've seen this cooperation on a small scale, even just in the planning process. Throughout the course of a year, we're doing things with other churches around the community, certainly other churches in our association. But we've seen more of our sister churches across town, Bethel Baptist, Calvary Baptist, Berendo, El Calvario, here in Roswell, more this year, simply because we had one single goal and we had narrowed the focus, right? And so we're all working on it together. And I am just seeing this incredible exponential rate of growth and momentum that's happening. And that's just in our community. I know the East Mountains, and I know Roswell and Tucumcari and Silver City. Those aren't the only cities that we're coming to. The big goal is the whole state.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And I know in the East Mountains it may be this way. It's probably this way in a lot of cities around New Mexico. We're all rural for the most part. Roswell's 3 hours from anything. And so sometimes whatever church you're in, you can feel like you're kind of on your own a little bit. And when you start making these connections and you start partnering in this way and cooperating together around one goal, it sure makes the world a lot smaller. And it also makes the vision a lot clearer and a lot less impossible.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
We shared this last Sunday, the same thing that Steve Ballou shared in the evangelism conference last year, his heart behind this, and Acts chapter 19, that all the residents of Asia Minor heard the gospel. I could just see light bulbs in faith all across, the congregation, just believing this is possible.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it is when the church partners.
That's great. For most people, that's a metaphor, but in Roswell, people actually have light bulbs that right above their heads that come on. Hey, Chris, just practically here now, and we've talked about some vision things and some story things. What are one or two of the things you guys are planning to do in Roswell that you personally are really excited about?
I am very excited, again, with the kind of my heart with families. I'm really excited about our soccer block party. We're going to do soccer giveaways. Soccer's huge in Roswell. Thousands of people at the soccer complex during the fall, every Saturday morning. So that's going to be one of the big events that we're doing, and I love that we're going where people are. I also love that just like many communities in New Mexico, we have a really high poverty rate. We have certain parts of town that are just really struggling. We're going to where they are too. We're not expecting them to come to our church and to our program and to our event. We're going there and we're taking clothing and we're taking items that could just practically, tangibly help people. And then more importantly, we're taking things that can meet spiritual needs.
Awesome.
To those neighborhoods.
Awesome. Jonathan, what about in your area? It's a little more spread out in the East Mountains and Estancia Valley, so a lot of the churches kind of have personal lists of things you're doing. But for your church and maybe other places, as you've talked with the guys, what are a couple of the things that you think are going to be really effective and you're excited about?
Once again, I think every area probably struggles with a high poverty rate, seems like these days, and Torrance County has one of the highest poverty rates in the nation. And so we're doing something very similar to what Roswell's doing. We're going to have what's called a clothes closet. I know they have collected, I don't know, countless amounts of trash bags full of clothes, and they have continued every weekend to sort and go through all these clothes, and not just for kids, but for adults, for everybody. So we're going to be giving away free clothes in the middle of town on one day, and so they're going to, of course, need a lot of help with that. And so there's that going on. I know First Baptist Moriarty is doing the bike repair service for people, because a lot of people, that's their only form of transportation in the area is to ride their bike. And so for First Baptist Moriarty to use some of the expertise that they have in their church, that's going to be great. I mean, there's just going to be a lot of things going on, really cool things going on at the various churches around the East Mountains in the Estancia Valley to help people in a practical way, all while with the main goal, of course, of sharing the gospel with each person that we encounter at these various sites. And so we're here going to meet tangible physical needs, but most importantly, meeting those spiritual needs as well. And so the churches, like I said, we've all band together to do that, and really excited to see what all our churches are going to encounter and how that's going to work out.
Awesome. Now I'm going to let you guys compete against each other for a minute. I'm going to give you each 30 seconds, and you tell New Mexico Baptist why they should come to One Day in your town. Chris, you're up.
The task is too big for us to do on our own. One of the things that excited our church specifically, and I know other churches here in town, was knowing that there's this great big task that's going to be just so difficult to accomplish. But when we told them that hundreds of New Mexico Baptists were coming to help, they got really excited to see that this is possible, to see that we can not just make a difference over a lifetime, but make a difference in one day. I mean, was just so encouraging, such a blessing. And I hope that this is contagious throughout the state, that as people experience the partnership, the cooperation, that, man, where's the next town? Let's go to the next town. Let's go to the next place. Let's take the gospel to the next neighborhood that needs it. That this isn't just a one-day mission trip, but this is an everyday mission trip.
All
That's
right.
what we're excited about.
All right. Jonathan, what do you think?
Honestly, what would it look like if an entire town was changed with the gospel of Jesus Christ? And what would that look like if it was the county seat town? Like Estancia is the county seat of Torrance County. Roswell's the county seat of Chaves County. What would it look like if an entire county now was changed? Not just because of each person engaging somebody with the gospel, but because now you're talking about governments and government workers being engaged with the gospel of Jesus Christ so that they take that into their workplace. That's the main reason why. And I'll echo what Chris said. Let's get excited for next year in the next town, because we're not just talking about Estancia. We're not just talking about Roswell. We're talking about Estancia and Roswell this year, but next year, where's it going to be? What town is it going to be? Your town that could be transformed with the gospel of Jesus Christ, where the excitement that was built in Roswell and Estancia and the East Mountains as a whole, that the excitement there carries on to 2027. And now we see multiple towns not just being changed and transformed with the gospel, but because you came to One Day, you got excited what happened in our town, and now you take that back to your town, and now your town can be changed. And now we can see hundreds of New Mexico Baptists coming and going to those towns as well over the next several years during One Day.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So I think a good way to kind of wrap us up, because our time is up, is there's got to be a way to say yes to this. I mean, I'm listening to these guys and I'm thinking it connects you even closer with the need and everything. And so how do you say yes? First of all, people in churches are the ones who have to say yes.
That's right.
Pastors have to say yes. And we've worked really hard to put together a registration platform that's easy to say yes. And if people just go to bcnm.com/oneday, everything is there. There's information there. But the biggest piece is there's a button there that says register here. You select either English or Spanish info, and then there's a button there that says register here. And all they have to do is click that button. If they have groups, when they click that button, it tells how to do a group, but they just need to say yes. It's so easy. Yeah, you have to plan to get there and everything, but it's not as hard to get there and to plan to get there as I think sometimes some people think. And so we just need people to say yes. I take it back. We don't need anybody to say yes. The people in Roswell and the East Mountains need people to say yes to coming and participating.
That's right. That's right.
And you just
with
heard,
that, guys,
you just heard Chris say
please.
Roswell's 3 hours from anywhere. We're 3 hours from anywhere. You can get there in a day.
That's right.
That's right. That's right. You can make it. You can make it. Guys, with that, it's time for us to wrap up. Jonathan, Chris, man, thank you for coming back home and loving your communities that raised you. Thank you for serving alongside all of us in the BCNM. Matt, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you. We're just glad that your listeners out there have joined us this time. We thank you as we've explored what it means to be a thriving church.
Absolutely. And remember that all of our conventions, missionary staff, including our regional missionaries that are out close to everybody, are available to answer your questions and to help your church thrive. If you need to contact us, just visit thrivingchurchpodcast.com and click on Contact. The podcast site again is thrivingchurchpodcast.com.
And until our episode that comes up next, remember this, guys. Our mission is the mission of God. Our power is the power of God. He's at work within you. Have a great Sunday this week. I'm Rick Brittain.
And I'm Kevin Parker.
And we look forward to our next time together on the Thriving Church Podcast.